Hi, welcome to my channel. I'll be showing you how to make these velvety net overalls. It was one of the first pieces I ever designed, and it's also one of my favorites. The size of the yarn and the openness of the stitch make these overalls work up really quickly. I made mine in a day. I'll be working with this bulky weight velvet chenille yarn, which is very forgiving because its fuzziness creates more of an overall texture rather than emphasizing the stitch pattern. So if you stitch in the wrong spot, it isn't very noticeable. And because it has a loose and flowy fit, it also hides irregularities well. All of these things make it a great project for a beginner who's already acquainted with the basics of crochet. In this video, I'll be making these loose fit overalls to fit a woman's size small, around a US size 2-4, but I'll show you in a moment how to size for your own measurements. To make this project, I used one skein of this size 5 bulky weight velvet yarn. You'll also need a 6.5mm US size K hook, a measuring tape, a tapestry needle, a pair of scissors, and 4 safety pins or stitch markers. You can find a list of all the supplies along with links in the description. I'm about to go into detail on sizing, so if you want to jump over just to see it being made, you can skip ahead 2 chapters in the timeline. If you happen to have a pair of overalls you like the fit of, you can work off those measurements. Just be sure you are able to slip in and out of them easily because the overalls I'll be making have no closures. Otherwise, start from scratch by measuring around the widest part of your hips, your inseam, and from the top of your inseam to the top of your shoulders over the fullest part of your bust. While these overalls do have a bit of a stretch because of the openness of the stitch, they don't have any closures or elastic, so they will have to be at least as wide as the widest part of my hips to get them on. I'll take my hip measurement of 36 inches. I'm going to say half of that here because I'm working flat, so 18 inches. That's my body measurement, and I want them to be loose, so I'll add an extra 2 inches of ease on each side. So laying flat, my overalls should measure 22 inches at the hips. The top of each overall leg will then measure 11 inches laying flat. I also need to know my inseam. Mine is 25 inches, and then I'll subtract 3 inches because it's a loose fit, and the netting hangs a bit when it's worn, and I'll also be adding about a 1-inch cuff later to the bottom. Plus, I like to wear boots or high tops with them, so I like them to be a little on the short side. And finally, I need to know the height of my torso. Mine is 28 inches. I need to make sure the rest of me can fit through the straps, so laying flat, each strap needs to be at least 1/4 of either my bust or my hip measurement in the round, whichever is larger. So 36 inches divided by 4 is 9 inches. The torso minus the straps will determine how long the rest of the body should be. I have 19 inches. Before I begin, this is a brief overview of how the overalls will be constructed. First, working in the round from the bottom up, you'll make one leg. Then you'll make the second leg and use the working yarn to join the two. You'll continue working in the round, making the hips, and then make the front bib and strap as a flat panel. Then a flat panel for the back with one strap. And finally, attach the 2 straps. The body of the overalls are made using filet stitches, and the trim is made using US single crochets. I made a swatch to determine that the width of each square in my stitch measures around 1¼ inches, or about 3 centimeters. So rounding up, I'll need 9 squares to get to 11 inches. That's laying flat, so to make the front and back, I'll need double, which is 18 squares. That takes care of the main measurement, but I'm going to be working from the bottom up, and I want my leg to have a little taper to it, so I'm going to start with 5 fewer squares and add them in as I go up the leg. So to figure out my starting chain, I know I'll need 18 squares at the top, and I want 5 less at the bottom, so that's 13 squares I want to start out with. You'll start by making a slip knot. Leave your tails a little longer than usual, around 6 inches or so, because this particular type of yarn has a tendency to unweave itself after you've sewn the ends in. Then begin your foundation chain by bringing the yarn from the back of the hook over to the front and pulling through. That's one chain. Each square in this stitch is made in a multiple of 4 chains. So to get to my 13 squares, I'll need 52 chains for my first round. Remember this number because you'll need the same amount of chains for the other leg. Then with your completed chain flat and not twisted, join the work with a slip stitch like this. With your work now joined, make a chain of 7. Next, find the stitch where your chain 7 is coming out of, right there. and count over 4 stitches. Make a triple crochet into that 4th chain by wrapping the yarn over your hook twice, inserting your hook into the back chain, yarning over and pulling through a loop, yarning over and pulling through 2 loops on your hook, yarning over and pulling through 2 more, and yarning over and pulling through the last 2. That's the first square in your filet stitch. Then chain 3. Repeat with the triple crochet stitch into every 4th stitch, followed by a chain of 3 until you are back at the beginning. So you'll yarn over twice, find your 4th stitch past where you just worked, insert your hook, then yarn over and pull through a loop, yarn over and pull through 2 loops, yarn over and pull through 2 more loops, and yarn over and pull through the last 2 loops. Then chain 3 and I'll meet you back at the beginning of the round. Okay, I'm back at where I started and I'm going to be working into the 4th chain up from the foundation chain. It's the top right corner of the first square I made. From now on, you'll be working into both the front and back loops of the chain to make a sturdy join. Insert your hook and join with the slip stitch by yarning over and pulling through all the loops on your hook. And you've completed your first round of filet stitches. To start a new round, chain 7 and triple crochet into the same stitch where you made the join, right here. Working into the join will make the increase square that I've planned for 5 rounds. I'm doing this triple crochet here, making sure I've inserted my hook into both the front and back loops. When I complete this increase stitch, you'll see that it actually looks like more of a triangle than a square. Then continue as usual for the rest of the round, chaining 3 and triple crocheting. It's now very easy to find the stitch to triple crochet into because it's above the vertical post and it's the stitch that's a little stretched out compared to the others. When you get back to the beginning of your round, chain 3. Count up 4 stitches from the bottom like you did when you joined the previous round, and join with a slip stitch. I'll make another 4 rounds that were identical to the one I just completed, where I chained 7 and triple crocheted into the join, creating that extra triangle shaped stitch. Then I'll repeat a chain of 3 and triple crochets until I get to the end of the round, where I take my chain and slip stitch it into the upper right corner of the triangle. After that, I will make rounds with no increases until I reach my 22-inch inseam length. This will take 9 rounds. The only thing that changes is, instead of doing my first triple crochet into the join, I'll work into the top loops above the next vertical post, right there. When your leg is the desired length, mine will have a total of 15 rounds. Bind off by chaining 2 and cut the yarn leaving a tail. Then pull it through to make a knot and give a tug to tighten it. Repeat for the other leg, but don't bind off or cut the yarn. Lay out the legs with the increases along the inseam. Insert your hook into the stitch where the slip knot is on the detached leg and join it to the other leg with a slip stitch. Now that the 2 legs have been combined, they will be worked in one continuous round, so you'll start a new round in the usual way by chaining 7 and triple crocheting into the stitch above the next vertical post. Continue working as usual in one big round across to the side of your other leg until you get back to your starting point where you'll close up your round. Then start a new round, and when you get to the sides, you'll begin to gradually take them in over the next several rounds. Align the front and back of your work so you can find the 2 squares that make up your side fold. It's helpful to put a safety pin between the 2 squares so you can find it easily. When you get to the 2 squares you're going to decrease, the only thing you do differently is you don't chain 3 before the triple crochet. You just go right into a triple crochet and then do another triple crochet into the next stitch. And you can see without the chain 3s between the 2 squares, they come to a point, and that's the decrease. Continue making regular fillet stitches until you get to the opposite side where you will decrease the 2 squares at your other hip. Then close up the round and you'll work the entire next round with no decreases. When you get to the decrease from the row below, chain 3, skip over the next vertical post, and triple crochet into the stitch above the second vertical post. Repeat that when you get to the opposite side where your other decrease is and complete the round. I'll repeat the last 2 rounds I did 3 more times, so that's a decrease round followed by a regular round with no decreases 3 times, which will be a total of 6 rounds. After that, my work will look like this. Then I'm going to crochet 2 regular rounds with no decreases. You may choose to do more or less rounds here depending on how high you want the sides of your overalls to be. Once you work up to your desired height, chain to bind off and cut your work. With the tail side of your work facing up, this will be the back of the overalls. Align your work so the squares are even and place a safety pin into the 3rd square on each side on the top layer only. And on the underside, place a safety pin into the 2nd square on each side. These marked off areas will be for the front and back panels. Position your work so the side without the knot, the front of your overalls, are on top. Then make a slip knot and insert your hook into the upper right-hand corner of the square with the safety pin in it. Make a slip stitch to join your work. Then make a row of fillet stitches up to and including the square with the other safety pin in it. Then remove the pins and flip your work over. Slip stitch into these top chains until you get to the stitch above the vertical post. This is how you'll hide or carry your stitches to indent it by 1 square as you start to make the tapered portion of your front bib. After you've worked into that vertical post stitch, start a new row as usual by chaining 7. And continue to work a row of fillet stitches stopping 1 square short of your previous row. Then turn your work and slip stitch again into the vertical post to indent your row by 1 square. And continue fillet stitching until you are again 1 square short of your previous row. Then turn your work, and here I'll make 1 more row without indenting. Depending on this length of your body measurement we calculated earlier in purple, you may find you need to work more of these rows until you get to your desired height. Then you'll start on the strap, which is just a row of 2 squares. Turn your work and make a row of 2 squares. Repeat until you have the length of the strap you need from our earlier calculation. That's the length of 1 side of your strap laying flat. I'll have 6 rows in mine, which makes about 9 inches. After you've completed that step, count to see how many rows are in your strap. Subtract by 1 and make that many more rows. For example, I made 6 and then I made 5 more. The reason for this is that 1 row of squares will be used to join the strap to the bib later on. So when you complete those rows, cut a long tail leaving about a yard to make that join. Then chain 1 and pull the yarn all the way through. Then you'll repeat this whole process on the back, working from 1 safety pin to the other. After my first row, I indented 2 more rows and I was left with 5 squares. I wanted to turn that into 4 so it would split nicely between the straps, so for what was my next and final row, I made a decrease in the middle by not chaining 3 and going straight into a triple crochet. This turned my 5 squares into 4. And then make the same number of rows for your second strap as you made for your first. It's time to join the straps to the body, and I'll show you how to do it in a way that makes a seamless connection by mimicking the fillet stitch. Fold the strap down and align it with the 2 squares at the edge of the bib. Locate the vertical post stitch that's directly below your hook and make a triple crochet into that stitch, joining the two pieces. Then slip stitch across the next few chains on the strap and into the next vertical post stitch. Next, triple crochet between the vertical post stitches. Then slip stitch over 4 chains on your strap and make a triple crochet from there to the other side. And you can see the join blends in nicely with the rest of the work. Remove your hook and put a safety pin in the working loop to keep it from unraveling. You'll come back to this spot after you've completed the other strap. Repeat the same steps to join the other strap to the back panel using the long tail you cut earlier. Insert your hook into the stitch with the tail, and here's a quick recap of the join. Triple crochet, slip stitch, triple crochet, slip stitch, and triple crochet. Then finish your work by chaining 2 and pulling the remaining yarn through the loop. Now it's time to add the finishing edges to your overalls. Remove the safety pin from your strap and insert your hook. Single crochet around the entire armhole by inserting your hook into the next stitch, yarning over and pulling up a loop, and then yarning over and pulling through both loops. You'll be working into the side stitches, which don't have those regular V-shapes to work into, so just do your best to work around with an even spacing, and you'll get a nice finished edge. When you get back to where you started, bind off and cut your work. Then repeat this step around the neckline and the other armhole. Next, you'll finish your cuffs like this one on the right. Before single crocheting, I slip stitch 2 together for a round to narrow the opening a bit. To do this, I join my yarn to my work where my tail was with a slip stitch. Then I insert my hook into the next stitch, yarn over and pull a loop onto my hook, insert my hook into the next stitch, yarn over and pull up another loop, and then in a twisting motion, I pull through the 2 loops on my hook. And you continue slip stitching 2 together until you're back at your starting point. Then single crochet all the way around and finish with a knot. Do the same for the other leg. Now all that's left to do is sew in your ends. Weave your tails in with a tapestry needle going back and forth several times, because if you're using the same yarn as I am, it tends to wiggle out. If you find it to be a problem, you might try sealing it with some fabric glue or carefully singeing the ends with a flame to fuse the fibers together. And your overalls are complete. I'll be posting more videos soon, so if you enjoyed this project, please consider subscribing and stay up to date on new videos as they come out. See you next time!